Hi YouTube, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can visit me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Okay, so I think this will probably be the last video we shoot today on the opinel edge test, toothy versus polished. In the last video we took our 3 opinels and we cut cardboard with them. You know, I mean, we didn't go like all out and cut, 3 miles worth of cardboard each and then check the edge retention, at the end of it, or after every 50 cuts or something like that. This is more supposed to be kind of like an overview and just kind of playing around with a couple of different edge finishes here in the shop. Mostly to kind of give you an idea about, how much it matters in some cuts and how little it matters in other cuts. This last one with the cardboard, I was actually kind of a little bit surprised about it, in that I was having kind of a tough time after that initial, say, 5 to 10 cuts with a fresh edge. After that, okay, so when you put a fresh edge on a knife, okay, it's kind of like when you put a fresh point on a number 2 pencil. Okay, that first couple of cuts or that first couple of lines that you write are the best that you'll ever get. Okay, then after that initial crispness kind of wears off a little bit, or the line that your pencil is drawing gets a little bit wider, then it kind of plateaus and kind of hangs out there for a little while. Okay. Then as the edge wears out, or as the pencil point wears down, then it, kind of levels out even a little bit more. And then finally you get to the point where there's no edge left, or there's no point on your pencil left, and you're just, mashing everything, So with these 3 edges, after that initial, maybe it was more than 10 cuts, maybe after the initial, 20 or 30 cuts, I had a really tough time telling, being able to describe any differences that I was feeling in between the different edges on cardboard, which was surprising a little bit to me, which is kind of cool. I mean, sometimes I wonder if I learned just as much from making these videos as I hope you guys are getting from watching them. Now, contrast that to the rope cutting test. Now the rope cutting test on that manila rope and on the poly rope, that was hands down. I mean you could have blindfolded me and handed me an edge or a knife and said, here, cut this rope, and within 2 or 3 cuts, I'd tell you, which of the 3 it was. And I bet you that, I could kind of, if you handed me a knife that you sharpened on your favorite stone and some manila rope, and told me to cut it, I almost kind of wonder if I could kind of get you within, a certain range of what grit that edge was finished to. But then again, I have cut a lot of manila rope, and so, maybe that has more to do with it than anything, how much rope I've cut versus how much cardboard I've cut. So anyway, so the tests that we've got in front of us today are an old t-shirt and an old pair of jeans, or just the leg out of a pair of jeans. This test, I think, is probably going to follow more along the lines of the rope test, but we will find out. So what I'm going to do here is I've got this t-shirt, and we're going to roll it up, kind of make a rope out of it, I guess, just to make it, a little bit easier to hold it, and put it here on the bathroom scale with the board on top. It's going to be a fairly thick rope there. And then we'll just take some cuts on the thing. Push it down to where you can see what we're doing here. And I will do my best to, what did I just do to the camera there? I think my finger touched the back of the screen. I'm not sure what I did. Not sure what I did there, but now it's not saying that anymore. Okay, so we got the 325 grit edge. I did touch these edges up since the cardboard test, just so that we'd get a, that first initial sharpness. Alright, so the weight of my hand and the t-shirt and the board is 5 to 6 pounds or so. Now we've got about 9 pounds or so to compress the t-shirt. And that cut was about 15, but it did not go all the way through. So about 18, about 19. This is cutting quite a bit different than rope does because it's not rolled up really, really tight, and so it's tending to squish and kind of roll out of the way. So about 24 on that one. 25. I missed that one. 27. 25. 26. 25. Okay. Now let's go ahead and kind of clean the edge of this cut up. Yeah, that's kind of wild cutting that. I kind of wonder if I can't roll it up a little bit tighter. That might help. We'll do one more cut with the 325 here, and so about 6 pounds. Oh, that helps quite a bit. That was about 26. Okay, so about 25, 26 pounds. Now the 6,000 grit edge. Oh, about 23. 25. 24. Okay, so either I'm getting the hang of this rolled up t-shirt cutting, or that edge is really working well. Let's go back to the 325 just to double check. No. That 6,000 grit edge goes through that t-shirt really nice. Okay, now we got the 30,000 grit edge. Now that one, we're using about the same 26 pounds to get the cut, but it's only cutting about halfway through. And it's like the edge is stalling out. Yeah, see? So whereas these here, well, you probably won't be able to see this very much, but so like that there's a 6,000 grit cut. That's a 6,000 grit cut. And then all of a sudden here we got these polished cuts, and they're just not, it's like the edge is stalling out. I'm not sure how to explain that. Whereas the 6,000 grit on one slice is cutting quite a bit deeper. Oh, there we go, there's a test. Let's see how deep it will cut with one draw. Let's get that out of the way. Okay, so we got a 325. So we're going to put it on the edge of the board. We're going to start right here at the ricasso, press down and pull back and see how deep the cut goes. Okay, the max on that was about 40 pounds, and it cut pretty much, there's a couple little bitty pieces hanging on here. Now the 6,000 grit side, or 6,000 grit edge. That was also about 40 pounds, and it made it almost all the way through. Now the polished edge. That was about 40 pounds, and it only made it through a little over half of it. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so that's enough of that one. Now let's go to the blue jean material. So that is very surprising on that that 6,000 grit edge on t-shirts. Okay, now I should have left that out. Let's go ahead and cut the end of this off. That's a 6,000 grit edge on that stone, or that knife, by the way. Okay. Now this might be a little bit different because this blue jean material, it's straighter and stiffer than t-shirt material is. So we'll get to see what the difference is. Okay, so this is a 325 grit edge. That was about 30 foot-pounds. 28, 32, 34, 38. Okay. There's a hole right there. Right there, there's a hole, so that fabric was dropping down into that hole, and then my knife edge was cutting over the top of it. So that's the 325. Now the 6,000. Now see, now this one, 35, but it's only going, it's going about 2/3 of the way through, whereas the 325 went almost all the way through. And I'm having to push quite a bit more. 42, 38, 35. See how those cuts are not making it all the way through? Okay, now we go to the polished edge. Wow. That first cut went that far in, and that was it. That's 35 pounds, and that's as deep as it went. Let's double check that with a 325 just to make sure it's not my technique getting bad. Yeah, that was 36, and it went clean through and chopped through real nice. So I would say that this 325 on blue jean material, that's a definite advantage because that 6,000 isn't cutting. So the blue jean material is just like the rope, pretty much, where it favors the coarser edge. Let's go back to this t-shirt again. Let's see if we can't roll it up real tight and see. Because this t-shirt material, it was tending to move and squish and kind of move out of the way. I'm off on my roll. Okay, so that's a little bit tighter. Here's our 325 grit edge. I'm putting about 45 pounds into that, but I'm not sure how much is of that force I'm putting in just to kind of hold things in place. Here's a 6,000 grit. We'll put about the same amount of pressure into each one of these cuts. And see, they're just not going in as deep. And then the polished edge. So this, I'm putting about the same amount of force into each cut. That's a 325. That's a 6,000. And then that's a polished. So the same amount of force, and the polished edge went about half as deep as the 325, and then the 6,000 was somewhere in between the two of them. But that's that was pretty interesting. That 6000 right out of the gate, it really tore up that t-shirt. And then now all of a sudden it's, well, maybe it favors that when it's not rolled up so tight. Now that's not rolled up as tight. Yeah, when they're not rolled up quite as tight, that 6000 grit edge does pretty good. It's not quite as aggressive, I mean, we knew that, as that 325, and so it doesn't cut as deep with the same amount of force, but it cuts surprisingly well, which, you know, has kind of been what I've been finding, because like I said, you know, I carry a normal pocket knife and then a belt knife, you know, all the time. This one I run with a 325 grit edge, and then this one I run with a 6000 grit edge. And, you know, I mean, I think carrying one of each is really nice. Now, my little pocket knife, you know, the little Victorinox, I think this one's the hiker, because it's got the saw as well as the, you know, the big and the small blades. I want to say on these, I think I'm just running the 325 grit edge on both of these. And then the saw has just got a filed edge. You know, but I don't use those blades very much. I mean, you carry that little pocket knife for the tweezers, the toothpick, the saw, and the screwdrivers mostly. But yeah, so that was really kind of surprising. Let's do one more. Let's do one more free hanging. Okay, so we got the 325. Let's poke it through. I'll make sure the lock is good on that the next time. Now, you saw how that was ripping and tearing, right? Very aggressive edge. Now let's go the 6000 grit. Let's make sure that lock is on all the way. The 6000 grit edge. It's actually... It cut just as well, only it wasn't quite as, well, it wasn't quite as aggressive. Now the polished edge. Now that is almost, that's quite a bit different. That sound it's making is almost the same sound as if you were to just, let's get a cut started here. As if you were to just tear it. And the tear and the polished edge, the edges of the cut look similar. I don't think there's enough, well, here's the other side of that t-shirt. So we got the 325. Okay, the 6000, and the polished. You know, I would say that probably rolled up tight, those materials, I think the I like the 325 grit edge better. Hanging tests like that, you know, I'm almost thinking that 6000 grit edge might be a little bit on the nicer side. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to describe that, but hopefully you got to see the, you know, see the cuts and see the reaction of the material and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's it for, the cutting test today. I think I'll probably, well, I've got to get some work done and everything, and then the next time I'll do the test, I'll probably do, somebody said about push cuts in wood. which that sounds like a fair enough test. I think that would be kind of like, you know, fine woodworkers, you know, using chisels and planes and things like that, which I honestly, I don't really get into that sort of thing. I do like whittling occasionally, you know, doing like the ball in a cage or the chains, or, you know, making, I call them Santa pencils. I'm not sure if, I've got some messed up ones here where you, yeah, I think these are messed up or I never finished, where you carve like Santa's face in a number 2 pencil and then give them to kids around Christmas time. So I do like whittling, you know, little projects like that. So that'll probably be the next test, but it'll probably be a couple of days or so before I shoot that one. So, like I said, this really isn't to show which edge is best. It's more of you know, different strengths, or, you know, just, you know, watching 3 different edges cut the same material and kind of seeing if you can spot the differences. If there are any differences, like I said with the cardboard cutting test, honestly, I don't really have a preference on the edge finish cutting cardboard, as, you know, shown by those cardboard tests we did. Cutting cloth like this, honestly, I'm kind of thinking I like that 6000 grit edge a little bit better for the t-shirts and the blue jeans if it's free hanging. If it's rolled up real tight, the 325 grit edge is where it's at, which is an interesting test, I think. So again, hope you're enjoying, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery. You can find me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Hope you're enjoying the videos, and we will see you next time.